We are Southeastern 16, talking some SEC football and talking a little South Carolina Gamecocks today. Chase Robinson, that's Chris Lee. As you look at South Carolina, Chris, and it's been a fun season for the Gamecocks. There's some games they would, of course, like to have back. They got a big win over Texas A&M at home. They've got Missouri this week, Wofford and Clemson left on the schedule. So the conversation to me is what happens if South Carolina runs the table for the rest of the season and finishes with 3 straight wins. Do you see, and I know you do a lot of research on this, Chris, and figuring these things out, do you see any chance that South Carolina could find themselves in the playoff conversation?
Well, it's funny. This has kind of been a sleeper topic for a few weeks. And then the College Football Playoff Committee came out with rankings on Tuesday that frankly were a buzzkill to all this. Because they basically had planted a flag on the Big Ten and said, the Big Ten has got 4 of the 5 best teams in college football. I think it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. And so now you're now seeing the odds in which South Carolina's got a less than 1% chance pretty much everywhere. The Athletic, pretty much anywhere I look for college football playoff rankings, it doesn't eliminate Carolina yet, but it's about as close as you can get to getting there. But, Chase, having said that, we were in a spot where we're in mid-November. The 4 unbeaten teams in college football, just as we all knew, would be our Army, Indiana, Oregon, and who am I leaving out? One more team. But point is, it's been a crazy season. So let's unpack crazy for just a minute, okay? And I'm going to give you the scenario that I think puts this on the table, potentially. And I think it starts with South Carolina going out and just beating the tar out of Missouri, Wofford, and Clemson. I saw South Carolina and Nashville last week. Very impressive, beat Vanderbilt in a way that nobody has beaten Vanderbilt this year. You're seeing a team that's getting better. Lenore Sellers is getting better. Rocket Sanders is better. That defense is a nightmare to face. So let's just say, because I don't think one thing that anybody's thinking of is if the eye test matters. What if they go and beat Missouri by 28 points on Saturday and then win by 20 at Clemson? You've got a team that's 9-3 at the end of the season, but playing as well as anybody in the country at that point. So I guess the first question I have is, how much does that matter?
Yeah, and with this committee, I don't know. Like, it's hard to tell. I think what hurts South Carolina the most when it will come to the committee and if there's even a remote chance of South Carolina getting in, is that 27-3 loss to Ole Miss. Because you look at other losses, it was a 3-point loss to LSU. It was a 2-point loss to Alabama. And then you have that 27-3 loss to Ole Miss. We talk about how they want that LSU game back. That could have changed the course of a lot. Yeah. But I feel like one they really want back is that Ole Miss game. Even if it's closer, if it's just more respectable, I feel like that blowout loss, though, has really put South Carolina behind the 8 ball in a lot of people's eyes, especially the committee.
I'm going to disagree a little bit, and here's why, okay? I think the committee right now has kind of planted a flag on 1 loss and then 2 losses, and I think that, I don't know, to me, Ole Miss was just a bad matchup. I think Ole Miss could deal with some of the things that South Carolina does very well. I think the one that hurts them is LSU, and this is kind of part 2 of where I'm going. Anybody that watched that game had questions about the way it was officiated. So to me, and this is a very South Carolina-centric topic. The committee is not going to sit in the room and base all its discussion around the universe of South Carolina football. It's going to be the universe of college football. But just indulge me for a minute, okay? If you say that they end the season on a heater, which they are clearly on right now, and they continue to win in impressive fashion, you go back and look at that LSU game. You say you change a call, they win the game. Now they're 10-2. And does it work this way? Almost certainly not. But where I jump off on this team, okay, Chase, is I look at them right now and I say, I'm pretty sure there's not 12 teams in the country better than South Carolina at this point. And if they continue to play in a way that the eye test gets them kind of on the radar to where at least it's a discussion point when they're picking the teams, I do wonder a little bit if somebody's going to raise their hand and say, hey, wait, you remember that LSU game? Let's talk about that for a minute before we just completely knock them out. Now, I will tell you the problem for Carolina. It's a big problem, but it's part of the discussion too. Before I do that, BetOnline is your world's most trusted betting platform. It's your number one source for online betting, from the earliest odds to in-game live betting. BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, I said this is a problem. After watching what the committee did, I don't know what they think, because a lot of these teams didn't have big wins. But I do think they have a little bit of a big win problem. LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, all great opportunities to get a big win. They didn't get one. Now, they did get A&M. They got a nice win at Vanderbilt. But the resume in terms of who they got wins against. Now, Clemson would give them one. Missouri would give them a nice win. So there are opportunities. But, again, I think it's not just that third loss. It's also the fact that they missed a chance to get a big win, because you stack them up.
Yeah.
You stack their big wins up against Georgia, Alabama, some of those teams. That's where they fall a little short. To me, that's the part that's damaging for their chances. Again, I think they're going to end up as one of the best 12 teams in the country, whether they make the playoff or not. But it's just a question of how deeply does the committee unpack South Carolina and what it's done.
Yeah. If they don't get in the playoff, though, like I've been looking around at bowl projections, and I feel like everybody has South Carolina in a different bowl, but it's an upper tier bowl. I mean, I've seen them in the Citrus Bowl a couple of times, which, just looking through this, is kind of if you're not a playoff team and you're in the SEC, the Citrus Bowl is probably the best, one of the couple of best bowls you can be in. So I think that's definitely a possibility for them to be in the Citrus Bowl, or maybe in the Music City Bowl. One person had them playing Michigan in the Music City Bowl. That could be a interesting matchup, or Illinois in the Citrus Bowl. I've seen them possibly in the Liberty Bowl as well. So there'll be a good bowl game against a pretty good storied program, I think, no matter what bowl they get to. So I think that they're going to be in a good spot, when you get to a bowl game, of how the bowl rankings stack up.
Yeah, I'm looking at CBS's bowl projections. They've got Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and I guess that's it from the SEC in the playoff. That's crazy. 3 SEC teams. No, Texas, excuse me. Still not used to processing Texas as an SEC team. Texas, Tennessee in the first round, by the way, in that one. So that's 4. I think at this point, they probably don't get any more than 4, again, with what the committee did with the Big Ten. So CBS has got South Carolina, Kansas State in the Texas Bowl. It has got LSU, Louisville in the Gator Bowl. And it has got South Carolina, I said the Texas Bowl. Who did it have? It's got Ole Miss and Illinois in the Citrus Bowl. I mean, to me, you're on the East Coast. If South Carolina goes 9-3, you're going to get a very fired up fan base that I think is excited. I don't know that Ole Miss is excited to go to a non-playoff bowl game. I don't think LSU is. So to me, a strong finish, I would think, would very much enhance your chances of playing in a Florida Bowl.
Oh, for sure. And again, South Carolina is going to is going to have a good showing no matter what bowl they come to, because these fans love what they see right now from this team. As do I. I love what I'm seeing from South Carolina right now. Really impressed with them. So, yeah, I think they're in a good spot to get a really good, non-playoff bowl game right now for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, and I want to ask you. Let's say it is a Florida Bowl. If it's the Citrus Bowl, well, if it's the Gator Bowl, it's Big Ten versus the SEC. I don't know why Louisville would be in the Gator Bowl in CBS's projections. But anyway, maybe that was just an oversight or a typo somewhere. But Big Ten opponents, I mean, it feels like, again, barring something unexpected, the committee said loudly and clearly that the Big Ten is going to get 4 teams. Again, that's not necessarily an endorsement. It just is what it is. I'm thinking of Big Ten teams that are fun matchups. I mean, 2 teams that you would think might have a chance to make a big bowl game. Southern Cal, especially if it can beat Notre Dame. The matchup with the USC's, that could be kind of fun. Iowa. I mean, boy, Iowa and South Carolina could play to a 3-2 type of game with those programs. I don't know that that's the game I want to see, but I'm just thinking of like what would be a fun opponent. Who am I missing here? I mean, the Big Ten was really top heavy. Maybe Minnesota falls in there. I don't know much of that. Maybe Wisconsin. So I guess that's the slate of teams. And then what other conference matchups are we potentially looking at? What am I missing here? ACC.
Let's see. Yeah.
Match them up with Clemson again, just to be fun.
That'd be fun. Get 2 in one season for the rivals there.
But
they'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, if Miami drops out of that, a Miami South Carolina game could be a lot of fun. I don't know. Miami's got a pretty good shot to make the playoff. I don't know if that's a situation where, again, if your sights are set on the playoff and you don't make it and you go to a bowl game, how invested is Miami? Do you have kids opting out for the draft, for the portal? But I don't know. You know what? I just hope that as much as I'd like to see Carolina get a shot at the playoff, it's probably not going to happen. Just an entertaining bowl game against a team that wants to be there. I think on the East Coast, to me, I feel like at that point they will have earned that rather than getting sent to Texas or Las Vegas or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
That just
I'd like to see SMU,
thing.
South Carolina.
Oh yeah, I could be there for that one too.
Yeah, in the Citrus Bowl, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, because SMU's a team that the computers love too. They think that's a top 15 team nationally. Great story. I think those are – see, that's what I'm looking at. Like 2 programs are excited to be there. Now, like maybe if you play that in Texas, although I think that bowl game – what are the tie-ins there to the Texas Bowl? That's Big 12, isn't it?
Big 12 versus SEC, yeah.
Yeah, so the Texas Bowl with SMU would be that wouldn't be happening. But yeah, that's another matchup I think would be fun too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a really good one. Well, regardless, I mean, South Carolina, it's been a good season, and they have a chance to finish strong, like we talked about. They certainly could. So we'll be here to talk about it all here on Southeastern 16 as we cover SEC football, basketball, and baseball. We recap the game Saturday night with live reaction. You can catch us by subscribing to the channel. Like this video as well, and spread the word about Southeastern 16 as we keep you covered on all things SEC. For Chris Lee, I'm Chase Robinson. We are Southeastern 16, presented to you by BetOnline.